Welcome back to Workplace Revamp, where we talk about what's broken at work and how we fix it. Today's guest is someone who knows exactly how to help people navigate change and uncertainty in their careers. Marzena Ermler, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name, but she'll do it, is the Assistant Director at NYU's Wasserman Career Development Center. She's coached thousands of students and professionals from all over the world on how to land jobs, change direction, and build careers with purpose. Originally from Poland, Marzena brings a global perspective to career development, having worked with domestic and international students across disciplines. She holds a Master of Science in Library and Information Science from Pratt Institute and a Master of Arts in German Literature and Language from the University of Zielona Góra.
Perfect.
All right, I'm learning. In addition to her academic credentials, she is certified in coaching, leadership development, and training management, and is currently enrolled in NYU's master's program in executive coaching and organizational consulting. Her approach is deeply influenced by neuroscience, life design principles, and positive psychology. Tools she uses to help clients gain clarity, boost confidence, and take action toward meaningful career goals. Whether working with early career job seekers or seasoned professionals in transition, Marzena focuses on aligning career paths with personal values and long-term fulfillment. Marzena, welcome to Workplace Revamp.
Thank you so much, Rena, for having me. I'm so
Oh,
excited to be with you.
yes, I'm really excited to have Marjana. And she and I are classmates, and she just has a wealth of knowledge. So I'm excited for her to share with everyone today. So I'm going to give you a couple of warm-up questions, Marjana. I know you've worked with so many different kinds of students and professionals. What first drew you to career development work?
I think it's curiosity about people. I'm fascinated by people's stories. So, what makes a person move half the globe to go to school or to go to job? What makes a person being kind of stuck and do some type of unfulfilling job? What makes people jump ship, right? Pivot. So these types of questions kind of combine things that are really interesting for me. So the storytelling, the problem solving, and and also it's sort of like a super amazing ability to be with people in the moments that are important for them. So I feel very privileged to kind of tap into that energy with them and help them perhaps to find meaning, find ways to move forward.
Oh, that's great. That's really great to hear. You've lived, studied, and worked across countries and disciplines. How has that shaped your approach to helping others with career transitions?
I think to a degree made me maybe a little bit a better coach, more empathetic, because I can see myself in some people that I'm coaching, especially when they're also coming from that international background. And I can draw on my experience to support what they might be going through. I also want to emphasize for international workers, but also for domestic workers, that all of us have superpowers. For international workers, this could be that cultural awareness, cultural sensitivity that we bring to the workplaces that very often helps people to also respect themselves and respect others because they see not just the differences, but also the similarities that are uniting us, no matter where we come from.
Oh, that is so important today, too. I mean, I know being in my industry in financial services, I always worked with global locations. So it's so important to have that awareness. You specialize in building confidence and clarity for job seekers. What are the real blockers for most people when finding meaningful work?
I think the big one would be fear, and also the need to compare yourself with others, and sort of a lack of clarity on the motivators, on values. So the fear makes us think small, kind of hide into familiarity. The comparison oftentimes pushes us into other people's lives, other people's stories, and prevents us from sort of seeing what's important for us, which connects again with that a lack of clarity of what is important for me, what is my set of values that will help me to gain that clarity. So I think these three things would be things that have to be addressed.
And I know you blend neuroscience into your coaching. How does that help with these blockers that get in people's way?
Yeah, so I feel that neuroscience approach helps to understand that our brain loves patterns and it shies away from ambiguity. Right? And sometimes we have to push through that. So I try to always make people aware that patterns can be helpful, but they can be also harmful. And when we find those positive patterns, I try to help people to build good habits connected with those patterns. And that also oftentimes helps with taking action. And then from neuroscience perspective, action, that positive movement diminishes anxiety. So that's kind of how, if we understand a little bit about the working of our good old noggin, we find a ways of optimizing our system.
That's great. So you work with teaching them about habits they can create. What sorts of habits for, especially with career transitions or job seekers? What are some
So
of those?
yeah, so one of the very good approaches, which is important to create into a system, we want to call it a habit or a system, is planning. Oftentimes we kind of throw ourselves into job search. Okay, this is a job, I'm just going to apply for it, and here I see something, I'm going to apply for that, and oh, maybe this. And so it becomes very haphazard type of approach. But if we create a habit, even from the very beginning of our days, right? So kind of planning the head ahead of time. So before going to bed, I really encourage people to create sort of 1, 3, 5 to-dos. So the one would be like one big goal that you want to accomplish next day, and then 3 smaller goals, and then 5 little goals. But when you do this work ahead of time, like the day before, not in the moment when you're like super tired and you don't want to think about anything but sleep, but when you still have that energy, create those goals for yourself, because when you wake up the next day, you don't have to lose energy on trying to figure out what am I going to do today, because you have already planned it, right? Your energy can be directed towards that action. So even that small step, creating that habit of planning something before you go to bed, is a powerful tool for job search organization or organizing life in general.
Oh, I love that. I mean, it could be as simple as maybe doing it like on your notes. Like I use my
Yeah,
phone.
yeah, yeah. I really propose to people that I work with that they have also some fun with it. My habit journal is really sort of a beautiful notebook that I love touching. It has
Uh,
nice colors on the cover. It has smooth pages. I have my favorite pen that I use for it. So I also created that tactile habit. Oh, I get to touch my journal. And that also brings me a little bit of pleasure, which is also a habit forming. So yes, you can do it in whatever way you want. But again, from the neuroscience perspective, it's much better to actually use pen and on paper
okay.
when you are writing anything like meaningful for you, because our brain works in a different way when we are using the kinetic energy of writing something and the mental energy of thinking through it. So it becomes much more meaningful activity than just typing. I
Oh,
don't know like the deep science behind it, but I know that this is the big differentiator.
oh, I love that. I'm gonna do that. I love journals. I used to always have one, like I try to, like you said, get one with like pretty flowers or something that makes you
Yeah.
happy.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
I have to do that again and stop using my phone because I shouldn't really have my phone by my bed. That's,
Yeah, that
you know,
that that could be a good habit to overcome.
yes. So let's talk about job seekers. And I know a lot of times, and when I've talked to them, it's they think about their resumes or their LinkedIn profile. Like, how do you shift their mindset more on alignment and values? And as you said, like self-awareness and creating goals for themselves.
Yeah. So first I acknowledge, right, with them that yes, LinkedIn is important and your resume is important, all those, as I call, technical aspect of job search, right? We have to have those tools all squared away and figured out how to use. But more important is including people, right? Including people so you can really understand, let's say, what was their career trajectory, what I can learn from them, from their successes, from their mistakes. Because the more sort of data we create for ourselves, about the environment, about the people in this environment, and about ourselves, right? So that internal compass, right? And what I consider that internal compass to be is the set of values. So again, helping people to understand what motivates them, right? What type of energy they have, right? When they think about things, when they do specific things, right? So that paying attention to that energy helps people to be more self-aware, and this becomes almost like breadcrumbs for people that yeah, that brings me more energy, more joy, I should get more of that, and this is something that I might be going away from.
That's great. Really great advice. Now, you work a lot with international and early career professionals. For international students, what are some unique challenges they face in the US job market, and how do you overcome that for them?
Yeah, so there is a lot of challenges for international students, from language barrier to the visa process that gets more and more complicated in the US, but also around the world, because our international students oftentimes are interested in global careers, working in the US, but also working somewhere outside of the US. So that sort of administrative process is super complex. And then also the network, right? They have to understand a little bit more about, especially here in the US, how different networking might be from their home country's understanding of how networking happens. I had to learn that coming from Poland. It was a different sort of understanding of the importance of networking. And also for international students, oftentimes they have to leave their network at home. Then they have to almost, especially if they're branching into a new industry because of their education, they have to build that network from scratch. So understanding those dynamics and understanding that networking sometimes is considered almost like this transactional, unpleasant thing. And I want to help people to reframe that from that transactional approach to more relationship building. How do I build relations in that professional way with people that I want to get in touch with? And how can I give back? Because it's a two-way street, and people sometimes don't realize that they have a lot of things to offer in spite of the fact that they might be international student or they might be early careers. They are in great schools. They are at the cutting edge of information that they are getting. So they have many things to share, including, of course, their talents.
Oh, that's great. Great advice. What other, like for a recent grad who feels totally lost right now, and I think it's a tough job market. I know my
Yeah.
son he's been graduated over a year now, but it's been tough. What advice can you give them when they're feeling totally lost?
Yeah. I think the first thing to think about is the fact that it's okay to feel lost. It, it is an emotion, it's a feeling, and people feel lost at different intervals of their life. But in terms of like the gravity of feeling lost after graduation, you are still okay. You are still allowed to feel lost because that's exactly where you should be. You should be now sort of testing new things, trying on different situations, talking to different people. I'm not saying that this feeling feels good. It is unpleasant. We know from neuroscience that our brain likes patterns, likes knowing, and sort of is unhappy with ambiguity. But people who graduated have accomplished something big. They finished some type of degree. They finished something that was important for them. So looking at that energy also from that past that propelled them to the success is also hopeful, helping them to understand, okay, I did all these wonderful things. I passed all these exams. I completed all these different projects, etc., got grades good, perhaps. That already kind of shows me that I can be successful in my endeavors. So looking again, I'm looking always at the that glass half full versus glass half empty. So looking at that positive moment that yes, I'm in the moment, that pivotal moment that I'm working for myself, right? This is the time that we are truly, really spending time on our self-development. Because when we get to work for a corporation, for an entity, then we work on their behalf. And when we are working on our next career move, we are truly, really working on our self. And then a big thing for me is also not doing this alone. Tap into people around you, tap into the resources that you have through school, through any friends groups, through people who might have graduated from the same program before or who have jobs that you are interested in. Just talk to people. Don't just concentrate on that mechanic applications because those conversations will clear a lot of questions, those little cobwebs from your brain. They might give you more ideas. They might open new doors. So include people in your next steps.
Yeah, and I like how you said you're not in corporate yet. So really take that time to learn about yourself before you get in that job, because then we come to the other mid-career people who are thinking, God, I've been doing this for 10, 20 years. Is this it? And now those people are saying it's time for change. But how do they do it? How do they start over?
Hmm.
Any
Yes,
advice you can give
yes.
us? Give
I
them.
I love working with new careers because it's a lot of dynamic ideas, etc. But I also love working with mid careers because then we have that wisdom, right? We
Yeah.
can tap into the wisdom of what we have experienced already. And people have different approaches towards pivoting. Uh, my approach is to do your research, right? Understand that this is more of a bridge building rather than sort of like jumping in, leaping into something. So, kind of looking again, what do I like about my past careers? What made really that energy for me felt masterful, like that mastery. I achieved mastery in a specific area. And then building on that bridge into something else. And, that internal understanding of what motivates you to also go into something new, right? So again, rediscovering values, because, values, as we know, change over time because we change, our circumstances change. What was valuable for a 20-year-old might not be valuable for a 40-year-old. So, kind of rediscovering those motivators is going to be very important. And then, the same way as for early careers, include people, right? The beauty of that portion of career for anybody is that the fact that you already have that network, right? So you can definitely build on that powerful network to find advice, find new opportunities, find validation.
That's great. And can you tell us about people that you have seen make successful career pivots? What did they do differently? How did they break through the challenges?
Yeah, so I feel that curiosity piece, understanding what they want, is super important because sometimes with people who have a lot of experience, it's like, oh, I could do this and I could do this and I could do this, right? But that's not what we get hired. We get hired to do something specific. So the more specific you are about what you want, the more specific you show up in conversations, right? People are all of a sudden see, oh, Renee is all about this and Marzena is all about that. So I want Renee because Renee has more of that. So it's again kind of really redefining your story as a professional and pitching it, right? So that really pitching what you want, who you are, building that bridge, right? So kind of building on what a beautiful, wonderful gifts you already have and building on that foundation going into something else and including people. Again, including people in your actions.
That's so important. Absolutely. Because people help us, right? We partner together, collaborate. The other thing I tell people is think about what are those pain points that you can solve for companies, right? Like you said, pitch that job that you want, focus on your
Exactly.
passions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of times we think about, I want to get into this company. For me, again, I focus on financial services. Everyone wanted to be at Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs. But thinking about your passions, like how do you help clients define that?
Yeah. So for me, passion is energy, right? I look at what energizes the person, right? What makes them like want to do something? Because passion is such a big word and it can be overwhelming, right? When we,
Mm.
oh, I just have to find something that I'm passionate about. But what is that? So to kind of make it a little bit more manageable for our brain, again, to
Yeah.
wrap our brain around it, is to look at, okay, where do I get energy? What activity almost puts me in the flow when the time is passing and I don't even feel that it's passing. So I feel that is something that brings people more excitement. It motivates them to do their best work. And also, oftentimes, that brings the meaning for what we are doing. So I think these are those two things that, when combined, finding that energy, connecting with meaning, is oftentimes helping people to feel really grounded in their decisions. But speaking of decisions, if I can just kind of
Yeah.
give you one little tool, there is something called circle of non-regret, and this comes from a research done by a professor from Princeton, Onofria Menza, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. And she created that circle for a kind of decision-making process. And one of the, let's say, aspects of that circle is a super powerful statement that was an aha moment for me. And I share it with people when they're making decisions as best as I can. And that statement is that you have to trust yourself that the future you will have the capacity to handle the decisions of the current you. So
Okay.
your future you will have the capacity to handle the decisions that the current you is making. I think that's like an amazing
Yeah.
relief of that anxiety that we sometimes have
The
regarding.
reflection
Mhm.
too, right? Like you're reflecting on how you will handle it in the future.
Again, looking at our past decision, like we are perfect human system. We take a breath, our heart is beating, right? So we are functioning. So that is a huge success already. And we got here, right, through different decisions, through different trials and tribulations. And in spite of all of that, we are here.
Yeah.
So we were able to handle the past decisions. So therefore, we have that hope that whatever decision we make now, we will be able to handle in the future.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And also, like when you talk about energy and what gives you energy, I think sometimes people don't know. Do you have any tips or tools of how they can really dive into what is it that they really like to do?
Yeah, so it is, yeah, I mean, it is simple till you actually start doing it. It is difficult till you start doing it. You really have to look at what does my day consist of, right? And really see, okay, if I don't know, in a group setting, solving a problem, is this draining me? Do I dread it? Or do I feel energized, motivated by working within that team and kind of sharing ideas? Or would I rather have my set of spreadsheet apps and do really diligent, detailed work, making sure that everything is correct and everything is free of mistakes, etc. So, kind of understanding that dichotomy helps you to see, okay, do I need to find experiences where there is, let's say, more group work, more people, more exchange of ideas, or am I better when I'm working by myself, right? When I'm solving problems by myself. So these types of questions are, again, not hugely difficult, but just analyzing what you do and what makes that energy pop up is the first step.
Okay. Well, can you tell us about a book? I know you talked about the circle of decision. Was that what it's called? And we'll put that in the
Yes.
so people can go to that. But is there a book that changed the way you coach or think about career development?
I can tell you two things actually. So
Okay.
one of the, maybe not necessarily book, but approach that really helped me with my own development, and now I'm using it to support others is the whole idea of positive psychology. Right.
Okay.
So I encountered it several years ago, and it was like a, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So long story short, Martin Seligman, right, the founding father of positive psychology, tells us that we can concentrate on our strengths rather than concentrate on weaknesses. So traditional psychology tries to fix us, right? So it's really paying attention to what's wrong with a human being and tries to kind of heal it. And the positive psychology is looking at what's positive in you. What can you build that energy on so you can move forward? So that was something that helped me personally to kind of move forward in my life, but also I see the power of it when we kind of discuss these types of ideas with people that I work with. And currently, because we also talked about values and stuff like that, and currently I'm reading a book by a very brand new book. I think it came out now in May. The book is called Becoming You. It was written by the NYU professor Susie Welsh, and it's all about values. So she designed this new value system. I love the nomenclature she's using for values. So let's say she doesn't say, oh no, some people are workaholics. No, some people have that work centrism, for example. So it sounds much better to be work centered than be a workaholic. So there, like I said, I really like how she designed this whole value system, and I would recommend it for anybody, for people who are just starting their career journey, people who are perhaps thinking of pivoting, or people who are already retired and are trying to rebuild their next steps. Like, how do I feel fulfilled in my next chapter of life? So yes, becoming you.
Okay, Susie Welsh. I'm going to look out for that. And I know you love books,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
In class, I know you and Buzz and others. So it's great. I think Marzena is someone that can really help us with telling us what are those books that can help us with our life, our career. So before we go, a couple of closing questions, and this has been so helpful, Marjana. I love your energy. You could see how passionate you are about this. So if you could redesign one thing about how we prepare people for work in schools or universities, what would it be?
I would actually leave the career centrism, if there is something like that for a moment,
Yeah.
and start with financial literacy. I think we should teach young people starting in high school. I know that some schools do that, but I think it should be just a regular subject in high school and in college, a sort of consumer financial literacy, because I think this will clarify a lot of values as well, right? Because people have sometimes problems around money, how to handle it. Money becomes a sort of a thing that people want to avoid thinking about. So I think if we help to clarify how money works, right, in societies around the world, it's going to help people to also take better care of themselves and make better career choices in the long run. So that would be my maybe
That's a
not
great one.
career-centered approach.
Yeah. I do think that there could be maybe more career development, maybe before college, though. Would you
Definitely,
agree?
definitely. Yeah.
Agree? Because I think sometimes when people get young people are in the workforce, and I know we hear a lot about Gen Z, and I'm not here to talk about them. I have Gen Z children, so but I think it's a shock to them. They're like, this is what I'm going to be doing for 40 years. I hear from my kids. So it's like, I think
Yes. So
we could do
so
a little more preparation. for them.
Definitely. So I feel like these two things can go hand in hand, because if you understand money, you will understand how to make that money through your
Yes.
choices. And then, you will understand, okay, will I have to do this for next 40 years, or is there any other way that I can
Yeah.
kind of build my environment, build my life, so perhaps I don't have to work for 40 years. So yes, but I totally see the shock with the people that I work with, students as well, and sort of having career days in high school, maybe coming back to those career days. So different
Yeah.
parents showing up in school and talking about, this is what I do. This is what I do as a career coach. This is what I do as a financial services manager. This is what I do as a, I don't know, plumber, right?
Yeah.
A, a job that probably is one of the most stable jobs right now, if we think about
Absolutely.
AI and all of that.
That's
So
right.
yes, I'm with you in terms of definitely creating that better awareness, what it means to work.
Yes, that's great. So, Marjana, where can our listeners connect with you so they can hear more about your wisdom and knowledge and, career transitions? I'm sure.
Yeah. So as we discovered at the beginning, I have a pretty unusual name. So if you
Yeah.
just Google my name, Marzena Ermler, Marzena Ermler, you will find my LinkedIn profile. If you can just go directly to LinkedIn, you can just put in my name there. I'm always happy to chat. I'm always happy to answer questions. I'm currently working at the Wasserman Center at NYU, so the NYU students can find me there. I also do a lot of workshops on emotional intelligence, job search. So, like I said, I'm happy to chat and collaborate.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Marjana, for sharing your wisdom and your energy. I love your energy and your fresh take on career development. If you're listening and feeling stuck, let this be a reminder. Your career path doesn't have to be linear. It's never too late to realign. I just did, and I'm much older than a lot of people. So please listen in, please leave a review, share this episode with someone who's figuring out what's next, and see you next time on Workplace Revamp. Thank you.
Thank you.